Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, where we explore the quiet corners of the human heart through stories shaped by timeless wisdom. If you're new here, I'm so glad you've joined us. And if you've been walking this path with me for a while now, thank you. Your presence, your thoughts, and your support truly make this space what it is. If you find value in these stories, if they stir something inside you, help you reflect, or simply offer you a moment of calm, I'd be honored if you'd take a second to like, subscribe, and maybe even share this video. It helps more than you know, and it keeps stories like this flowing freely to those who might need them most. Now, have you ever felt like your life was complete on paper, but somehow hollow in the marrow? Have you ever caught yourself smiling on the outside, while something quietly faded within? Today's story isn't about betrayal. It's about awakening. It's not about falling in love with someone new, but rediscovering parts of ourselves we left behind long ago. This is the story of Emily, a wife, a mother, a woman who had everything she thought she wanted, until a man named Rogers reminded her of something she'd forgotten. How it feels to be fully alive, rooted in the calm depth of Zen and the inner clarity of Stoic thought. This is not a tale of infidelity. It's a tale of impermanence, presence, and the quiet power of returning to yourself. Let's begin. Emily had everything a woman was supposed to want. A warm home, 2 healthy children, and a husband who never raised his voice or forgot to pay the bills. Daniel was the kind of man people praised for his steadiness. Gentle, practical, safe. Their life moved in well-rehearsed steps. School runs, dinner plans, Netflix before bed. To the outside world, she was settled, content, maybe even lucky. But inside, Emily was slowly dissolving. Like sugar in warm tea, losing shape without anyone noticing. It wasn't unhappiness that troubled her. It was something quieter. A still ache, a kind of soul silence she couldn't explain. She didn't miss passion or drama. She missed mystery, the feeling of being surprised even by herself. Then came Rogers. He wasn't particularly handsome, not in the polished sense. But there was something in the way he walked, light, unhurried, like someone who listened deeply to the world. A traveler, a writer, he had come to town to lecture on Eastern philosophy. Emily, volunteering at the community center, had been asked to host him during his stay. At first, he spoke little. His silences were not awkward, but deliberate, full. When they talked, it wasn't about politics or parenting or the weather. He asked her things like, "When was the last time you felt completely lost in a moment?" The question hit her like a wave. She couldn't remember. Their connection grew slowly, not with touches, but with conversations that felt like mirrors. Rogers didn't offer her compliments. He offered her curiosity. He made her remember the girl she once was. The one who stayed out in the rain, who painted at midnight, who once booked a train ticket just to see a sunrise from a different city. With Rogers, she didn't feel desired. She felt seen. And in being seen, something forgotten inside her began to stir, like spring underneath snow. There was no affair, not in the way people expect. No hotel rooms, no whispered lies, but something deeper bloomed. A quiet intimacy, emotional and electric. They walked together during the first snowfall, not saying a word, just steps on soft white silence. It was in that moment, the snow catching in her eyelashes, that Emily felt something break open. Not pain, but presence. Zen teaches that truth lives not in words, but in awareness. "The snow falls, whether you dance in it or not," Rogers whispered, and she understood. For years, she had confused stillness with peace. What she had really lived in was emotional sedation, numbness dressed as harmony. She wasn't in love with Rogers. She was in love with what he represented. Impermanence, vitality, presence. Zen speaks of attachment as the root of suffering. And here she was, clinging not to Rogers, but to the image of herself that had long been buried. In his presence, she met her own absence. But temptation soon met reflection. One night, as they sat across from each other under the pale kitchen light, she confessed that she had considered leaving. Not for him, but for herself. Rogers didn't speak. Instead, he slid a small, worn book across the table. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Inside, a single passage was underlined. It is not events that disturb us, but our judgment about them. The next morning, she read it alone. The kids were at school. The house was quiet. And for the first time, she saw the source of her suffering. It wasn't Daniel. It wasn't even the marriage. It was the belief that life should always feel thrilling, that love should always be dramatic, that if she wasn't constantly moved, she wasn't alive. Stoicism didn't tell her to silence her desires. It taught her to interrogate them. Her longing for adventure was not wrong, but it was also not wise. Desire is a fire, not a light. She had fed it, hoping for warmth. But unchecked, it would have consumed the small garden of peace she already had. Rogers left at the end of the week. There was no dramatic goodbye, no confessions, no promises, just a long, silent gaze in the cold morning light. It wasn't a look of regret. It was a mirror, offering her a choice, not an escape. Emily returned home, not because she had to, but because she chose to. For the first time in years, she looked around her kitchen and saw it clearly. The teacups, the school drawings on the fridge, the crumbs, the chaos, the life. She planted a small bonsai tree on the windowsill and began trimming it every morning. Not for beauty, but for practice, presence. She picked up her paintbrushes again, not to escape her life, but to enter it more deeply. Sometimes we fall for someone not because they're the answer, but because they remind us of a question we stopped asking. Zen reminds us to return to the present, to sit with life as it is without needing to escape it. Stoicism teaches us to examine our desires, not to suppress them, but to understand what they are truly asking for. Emily didn't need to run from her marriage. She needed to wake up inside it. Too many of us move through life asleep, mistaking comfort for contentment. We assume our dissatisfaction means we need to change our jobs, our partners, our homes. But often what we need is not to run, but to return, to ourselves, to presence, to clarity. Zen teaches us to find wonder in the ordinary. Stoicism teaches us to live with intention, not impulse. Emily's story isn't about infidelity. It's about awakening, the kind that doesn't break things but heals them. And that was the lotus in the storm. A story not about betrayal but about awakening. Not about leaving something broken, but about rediscovering something sacred. Because sometimes, the greatest act of love is not chasing a new life, but returning to the one you've been too numb to feel. If the story stirred something in you, if it made you reflect on your own quiet longings or the beauty hidden in your ordinary days, then I invite you to take a deep breath and just sit with that. No rush to fix, no need to act, just presence. That's the gift of Zen and the clarity of Stoicism. If you'd like to see more stories like this, grounded in timeless wisdom, told with heart and stillness, please consider supporting the channel. Give this video a like, leave your thoughts in the comments, and if you haven't already, subscribe. It helps these stories reach others who may be searching for the same quiet truths. And if there's a moment in your life, a turning point, a whisper of change, or a story worth telling, share it below. You never know who might need to hear it. Thank you for being here. Until next time, stay awake to your life. And remember, sometimes you don't need to escape. You just need to return.